Hello and welcome. Thank you so much for being with us here today. I'm so excited about what we're going to unpack together. Trust me, you're going to want to take notes on this and you're going to want to take action on what you're about to understand today for yourself. I'm your host, Tina Marie St. Cyr, and you are listening to Light Your Life. I'm so happy to be able to introduce my friend and mentor, Dr. Donald Epstein. Dr. Donald Epstein is a world-renowned visionary, literally a visionary, whose technologies and teachings combine modern science and sacred wisdom. What a wonderful marriage there. Upgrading humanity is his goal, beyond what we would only dream possible. That's why I want you to take notes. His current focus is in teaching individuals about how their personal energetics impact all domains of their lives and impact your outcomes in your life. He has worked with leaders from all over the world, celebrities, corporate executives, everyday people who are changing their lives because you know that you want more out of life and you want it now. So I'm so glad we're having this conversation, Donnie. It's going to be energized, I know. And so I know the people here are going to be feeling what you're going to be sharing with us. But more than that, I want us to take action out of today. Have this not just be an experience and a feel good and something that was interesting. I want you to take what's coming in, listen to your soul, and go in the direction of its own becoming, because it's going to be saying, hey, listen to this stuff and do it, right? So Donnie, thank you for being here. We're going to unpack a whole lot of people, a whole lot of information for the people that are here. I want to start off with just saying, I'd like this to be, positioned with something that we're all experiencing, and it's a draining world right now. I mean, if we put our consciousness and our mindset toward a lot of the conversations that are happening, it can be something of dismay. And so how can we become an even more powerful human despite those things? And the world seems to be moving at a fast pace anyway. So we must get new skills, technologies, strategies known to ourselves. And you're just the person to help us. Thanks for being here.
Yeah, well, first of all, this is a time of great opportunity. What's the purpose of the light? It is to shine it. A candle does not shine for its own illumination. So in draining times, it means there's not enough coherent light. So you can focus on draining times or say, this is the times you're made for. That's going to be one.
Awesome.
Once you realize these are the times you're made for, these are the good old days. When you recognize that, something else happens. So I say good old days. The good old days are never, ever, ever when you're achieving your goals. The good old day is not when you get it when you want. The good old days you remember is when you had not a clue how you're going to pay the bill, how you're going to make it happen, how things are going to happen. And collective with at least one other person, somehow you develop a new level of resourcefulness. You shine light where the light was not on your life or someone else's. And you may get impacted someone else. One of the first things to recognize is one, that your emotions, how you feel about things, the story you have about things, have very little to do with your circumstance in life. So the illusion people have is that I'm like this because.
Right.
And usually it's because of a lack or loss of something. No, you're not because of that, because you're like that, because that's what you're practicing. We do not see the world as it is. We see it as we are. And that's important to know. And we're looking to the first way in this new world. And there's a new world energetic. There's a new sheriff in town. We'll talk about that.
Yeah, we're able to talk about energy now. I mean, like 25 years ago, that was a foreign topic and it was almost woo-woo. And even now going into corporate America and working with CEOs of Fortune 100 companies, they're talking about the energy of their culture, the energy of a conversation, the energy of a project and a communication. We have definitely transformed that, thank goodness. But now you're saying that we can understand even more about the energies that are available to us and take it to the next level.
Well, it's about experiencing first, understanding second. I'd like to get a few ideas across.
Okay.
No matter how much money you make, or how many successful you are, how many quote friends or people you feel you're influencing, no matter what you use to prove that you're not a nobody or somebody, no matter what role you have as a spouse, a boyfriend, a girlfriend, a husband, a wife, a parent, a teacher, an educator, whatever it is that you have, no matter what you do when you get most successful, you still feel like you should afford.
Somewhere. Yeah.
So let me know something. No, there's nothing you'll achieve to satisfy any role, because every role you have, or maybe onion roll or something, and any role that you have is, and all of personal development is based upon one basic principle, in my opinion. I've been around the block a few times. I've been with Donny Robbins 17 years, been making events with him. I spoke at him, events with him. I've worked probably 250,000 people in my career, maybe up close to 100,000 now transformation or waking experiences. And it's a real simple thing, that all of personal development is based on a simple principle. I'm going to prove that I'm a somebody, so no one thinks I'm a nobody.
Mm.
So we develop a false me, and the way we do it distributes a role. And that role is the way we're going to do it. And then we judge based upon our conditioning whether we're successful or not in that role. But since nothing in changing your circumstance will change your emotions more than a couple of minutes, a few minutes, since none of that will make the difference you're looking for, I'll save everyone a lot of time. This is happening to the planet now. We're at a point to realize this, that you are not enough and you'll never be enough. Pause and be with it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, pause and be with that, because that's fundamentally like a huge shakeup of our conscious mind. You are never enough and you will never be enough. Help us understand that more.
Because the you trying to be is trying not to be a false or fraud, or not to be your mother, or not to be your father, or not to be this. That's what happened in your experience, because what is enough is creation's codes, the codes that create life, that bring synchronicity, that bring us together, help us serve people. That's what's enough. The collective energy is enough. And now people are fractured. They've fractured their life, and they forgot to recognize the beauty that's there. You see, to see miracles, you have to shine the light of a miracle, and you have to be humble enough. Now, all the events in life that you feel hurt you, I'm like, it's because of this. Or if I had this, this is it. I'm in a place of lack. Something's taken away from me. All those experiences we have are meant to crack us open. Then energy has been bound as our identity, as our role, as whatever we've accomplished, or bound for ourselves to finally prove we're okay. We'll never do it. Our hunger for consumption, to bind energy for ourselves, to feel comfortable, better about ourselves, or to feel loved, is one of the biggest toxins in the world.
So like the pursuit of stuff, right? The pursuit of this identity, this pursuit of good enough and recognition and importance and even life purpose. You're helping us understand that it is not the pursuit that we're seeking, and it's still going to not be enough at the end of the day.
It is the hunger, not the pain.
Say that again. It's the hunger, not the pain.
Yeah, we must recognize there's a gap between who we are and who we're meant to be, and there always will be. We will make the gap bigger, not smaller. We will make the gap, and the only way it's filled is by saying, I am not enough. There's another energy that has to fill me and be with me. I must serve that energy. And you're so concerned, then your concern then is becoming more, shining more light, being more, not accomplishing more. Now, accomplish more is okay. Please, you have to do that. But that's not going to make you feel better. What's going to make you feel better is when you actually experience the creation's codes, the forces that make the sun, the moon, the stars, the planet. When you look at a spider, you get totally transfixed by how it made its web without a degree or anything like that. You look at a bird fly. How is that happening? You look at how take inventory for life and say, my God, I thought it was the worst day of my life. I lost my job. My wife left me. And you pause, and a few years later, you look and say, starting that point, put me on a different path. So those things we think were the worst days of our life were the worst because we were binding energy to see life in a certain way. We're meant to be bigger. So we must have a hunger to be more, give more, share more, know more, and realize by ourselves, the person observing the world is never enough, but the forces of creation are enough. So we must have humility, enough pride to claim a bigger service.
Right. It feels as though you've also, of course, you can share your wisdom because you've walked this path. It feels as though you've had these breakthrough moments for yourself where that humbling, broke you wide open as well. Is there a younger version of Donny that walked the path that you realized that your identity wasn't the be all end all, and it woke you up?
Well, the younger version, yes. The older version, a different way. The younger version was I was quite different as a child. We're all different. This was like really different.
Yeah.
My normal seeing of the world, my normal seeing, so to speak, is if you imagine before someone speaks, or before their physical body even takes form, whatever it is, or anything takes form, this first data field. That data field plus energy becomes reality.
Mm.
So I'm sure everyone's been in a relationship with someone who had lots of potential. That was all. Okay. Okay. And you try to help them build it up, but they had to commit the energy to use energy in a certain way to invest it into it for it to manifest.
Right.
So everything is data. Everything in the world is data. It's information. Just imagine if we suspend your view of reality for a moment, and I suggest you do it before life does it more aggressively. Suspend your view of reality a moment to realize that we are actually living in an app of artificial intelligence, like the Matrix.
We're living in the web of artificial intelligence.
So we are players in a program.
Okay.
It's a program. Okay. And actually, some academic people say it's probably 50% chance that's true. Okay. Yeah. So with that, you have to say, well, what program am I living? Well, the one program is what the culture says you're supposed to be. And why do you want to fit in, to be liked, to be accepted, or be punished? That's what, or rewarded. That's what the culture's job is to do. Because if 80% of the world, if you don't follow the rules, if you don't fit in, if you don't do what the culture says, you'll be dead with surgery or excommunicated,
right,
be in prison or something, sold to slavery.
Yeah, it's an assault on our safety, right?
Yeah, because we first have to learn to fit into the culture and world because we're social beings. And if society has lived so long, we're reinforced that, mom and dad may have been messed up, but we now learn a larger cultural field, which is an information field we live in. We go along with it, or we punish ourselves or we're punished. It's that simple.
Okay.
That's an important stage of development. You have to be able to be part of something before you can change it, okay? Or to know to change it. So that's all information. You have a piece of wood, it's information. You light a match to the wood, a small amount of energy additional, and it ignites the wood. Fire develops. Energy, heat comes out of the wood, goes into the environment, is dissipated, and what's left is ash.
Right.
What is called it wood no longer exists. The same thing with your relationship, your body, your intimacy, your business, your finance. If the energy is not available for it, no matter what course you take, no matter what skills you have, it's not going to make a difference because every time you think of business, everything you think of finance, every time you think of love, every time your focus goes into anything, your plan or your goal, there's not enough energy or light to activate the codes of creation, the information to make it something else.
Right.
So going back to this, as a child, I would look at people, I'd see energy. I'd see right now, data streams, 1950s and 60s, late 60s. I mean, people really were into that with hallucinogens there.
Right.
But they would see that, and I would see that, I have a sense. It took until almost my 30s before I was regularly actually experiencing, most people experience as the physical world as a real thing. To me, it was the secondary thing.
That had to have been, was it disturbing as a young child to see this? Did you know other people didn't see the way you saw?
Yeah. Well, I was placed on very heavy barbiturate, which was 5 times what they give someone now as it first came out for atypical type of seizures, mild epilepsy, like a absent seizure, to zone like that for a moment, sometimes grand mal seizure, to give me more and more. So it's the slowest classes, believing that I was really stupid, but I was so heavily drugged and other things. and have all types of traumas, have all types of like real torture, real stuff and things like that.
So sorry.
And everyone was saying, you're not part of this. You don't belong. You're not enough. And at some point I realized that since I didn't fit into the culture because I didn't get it, because I was drugged and I didn't know, I was never comfortable in it. Therefore, I could change it. You see, once you're
That's an interesting perspective, because instead of trying to fit into it, you just realized that wasn't going to work. So you were out of it
for what it is and realize it is not what I am.
Yeah.
It's influence. It's like rain or sun. I'm not the rain. The rain happens. It's around me. I look at that. So that's a really important point. And this is getting to the point of recognizing that all different things happen. On my father's deathbed, he said, how the retard gets so smart, meaning in a loving way.
Yeah.
Okay, from that way there. And I realized that there's other types of intelligences. This intelligence could see the world that way. This intelligence of things are connected. There's a divine force, a divine aspect. Then I went to chiropractic college because the principle of chiropractic itself is not what people think it is. It developed that there's a 0 point field, as I call it now in science. It's a field of intelligence that permeates everything. It gives every atom its existence, creates everything, sustains it. And somehow the nervous system connects to that 0 point. And the tension or mechanical tension of the spine alters the vibration of the nerves, which alters the perfect communication of information. And then you have life in modified form. The form of the structure of your body, life starts shifting. That was spiritual principle. And most schools don't teach this. I recognized that. And I said, wow, it was just like breathing to me. And I started advancing. And I said, I want to help people be able to connect to that organizing force. Life is asking us to do that, but we're so busy with the illusions and fighting them to recognize what is real.
And would you say that people...
What is unreasonable.
Right. Is that intelligence working in and through us, and through, the eons, people call it miracles or, circumstance or serendipity or coincidence or luck or things of this nature. But it could be the normal and the way of being, if we allow it and work with what you're helping us understand is available to us.
So your work is not what gives you money or sustainable. You'll get it. What helps you sustain it is how much energy you have that's connected to the same force that makes the sun, moon, the stars, and the force of attraction. That's what does it. Now, obviously, you need skill sets, but now what's the skill sets? No matter how good you are, you must transcend who you are by being part of that, what I call creation's codes, the algorithm that makes a spider web, that makes a sperm get together after a party. And they form a big bang. A big bang creates something.
That's funny.
And it creates a being. And how does it do it? My quest in life is, how does spirit make matter? What's my force of manifestation? How is that someone comes to life in one moment and the worst point in your life becomes an opportunity for something great? How does the magic happen in a moment? There's a flood of another type of energy, another type of intelligence, and with enough available energy, you have access to it. We play a different program. The question is, the app that you're playing in life right now,
right?
Is it enough? Do you know there's more? Do you know there's more in the physical world?
And do you trust it? I believe the people that listen, our community here, we know there's more, but sometimes we don't trust it. Okay. Is that not trusting it or not trusting ourselves with it?
It's yes and yes. Okay. First, faith. Faith is knowing there's an organizing force in everything, and we're guided. It doesn't mean you have to like it. You may never know how you're guided. Okay. But your misery on one day may make you miss an opportunity that day. And then it may redirect you to other people to have other opportunities or whatever it is, or have compassion for someone else.
Right.
The idea is that the world is organized. There's an organizing force. There's no evidence for anything otherwise. The second is trust. But will it work for me? We're made from faith. A farmer plants seeds is from faith. Faith means there's a timing for everything. It's not your timing. It's no such thing as immediate gratification. It's a drug.
Right.
The
That's an
timing is
addiction.
cycle. And sometimes it's not happening fast enough. You haven't brought enough soul energy or enough energy into the picture, enough light on it. So the amount of energy you experience and the way you experience determines your fear of faith. Nothing to the circumstance. And having more information will not make you make a better choice. You've already decided to do it or not. Now you're stalled by thoughts. Every purpose of every thought is to bind energy. So now, later in life, I advanced practitioner. I want to be the best at what I did. So I developed systems. I became the best in the world.
Mm-hmm.
So what? Then I wanted to be the best for the world. It's okay. That's a great process. And then when you start looking at that, it's a whole different picture.
Yeah.
So this led me in the care that we gave, the network type of care, which was where I began my journey there. We developed a system of helping the body, mind, and spirit connect, looking for this signature. What is my soul signature? How I manifest? And we identified it. A wave would move through people. And as it moves through people, it is unique for each individual. It's an identifier of how your central nervous system organizes the world and respond. And when what is true and real and authentic as a living being by creation's codes, the force of creation moves through you, those things that are not real just disappear without effort, no work, nothing.
Wow.
And then as we developed that, I started saying, well, that's going to destabilize who you are. How do we stabilize a no higher order? Shit, you can interrupt, but how do you do that? And I found other systems finally. And that started leading me into watching how the body organizes.
Mm-hmm.
We have the mathematical signature for every one of the organizing intelligence of life. That Judaism, that Islam, Christianity, Hindu, Buddhism, all the major traditions in their writings, maybe not the church, but in their writings,
It's true.
the life force that keeps you alive and gives you certainty that I could survive.
Mm-hmm.
That's not enough. If you use that intelligence to organize your body, you'll have no relationship because you'll downsize everything so you'll just survive. Well, am I safe? Am I safe? Well, what? No ships are safe in the harbor, but that's not what they're for. Right? So then there's emotional intelligence that helps us respond to the environment. Emotions are that. And emotion is not about laughing or crying. It's about the gene expression, the proteins the cells produce. You'll respond to a subtle change in environment. So a lion roars in the Serengeti.
Right.
You're 2.5 kilometers away from the lion. What do you experience the roar? All of our senses are subtle energy of information in the field, the space around us. And the space, the field, is the cloud of all information, 0-point field, and it's available to all of us. But we need the strategy to get there, enough energy. Each higher energy level requires intelligence level, organizes more of your life for you. You don't need to do it, it does it. Okay? But you need to have more available energy to access it. So then we have the emotions is a response to the environment. Just telling you, you're being immunized against the danger at that point by having a subtle energy here to line through and say, I'm not going to go that way.
Right.
But most of us, the point, are so occupied with being loved more or being better at this that you don't open the pot and trying to prove you're somebody. You don't have the opportunity that we are humble that these forces are already organizing us. We're being carried in a river for a new way of being for all of humanity, and carried in ways that we don't like. It doesn't make sense or whatsoever. Everything seems to be breaking down, but it's really opening up. And it's opening up to a new possibility. But if we're focused on what's breaking down, we'll never see what's opening up. We must live what's opening up to see it.
Because inherently, when things break down, it's available energy to create something new.
And that's the whole key here. So I found this. And then there's 2 levels of mind, and there's levels of spirit. We have the mathematical signature of the nervous system function, each one based on the system network care. I then started watching how else can we access this between people in communications right now here. I'm with you now, and I'm going to start accessing more of what you call the higher energy, the soul energy. It's not about feeling good about yourself. It's about coherent energy that shines light and light of truth, and it is the most disruptive force in your life, because when it enters, your life will break apart. And either it's just moving effortless to another
I
place.
felt that through my system just when you said it.
It will either effortlessly realign you, or it'll break everything down until it liberates enough bound energy and information to be able to deal with it. So you have a choice: the unbound energy through pure awareness of the nature of your system and service in humanity, or wait to be broken down. And then you have it's because of this, it's because of that. It's
the stories.
The amount of energy you have available at any moment determines the thought, determines the emotion, and determines the manifestation. That's let me say this again. The amount of energy you as an observer have when you think about something, have and radiate, determines the thought, determines the emotion. So what happens is your nervous system will connect to this field around you. And in this field, different spots have a certain amount of energy. If you only have a certain amount of energy, your nervous system will go into that spot. And you'll have a thought of grief, or not enoughness, or sadness, or anger, or something like that. If you have a little more energy, your posture will change a little. You'd see the light different. You hold your hands different. Your eyes shine different. Your nervous system more energy, so now you see curiosity, a little more fascination, a little more gratitude. It has nothing to do with circumstance.
It's all energy.
It's all how much energy you have available. The last tier of conscience, last tier of humanity, the one from time humans first walked the earth, up until about a year and a half, 2 years ago, maybe 3 years ago, in my opinion, there was a rule going, and it was: we value binding energy as our identity, as ownership. We own our family, our children. We own our identity. We own our disease. We own everything. We have. We own our money. We own one another. We can do what we want to other people, to animals, to everything, because we own it. That's the illusion. Whoever owns the most wins.
That just sounds painful.
What's that?
That just sounds painful.
But that's what the world has been about. And what's going on right now is, and the only way energy is liberated freely is with force and violence. So fossil fuel, 350 million years for tobacco. Around epienergetics is the whole science of this new world, as I see. It is the conscious and ecological use of energy and information created extraordinary, and to be with extraordinary.
I'd love for you to say that again, closer to the mic, because I want people to hear this. Because
conscious and epienergetics. Epi means around or beyond, like epidermis, the skin's outside there.
Yes.
Epienergetics, around all energy, is a field of information. Information that can observe the self-control consciousness is a field of information. Every type of energy will produce its parallel consciousness, and every consciousness will attract more of its energy. So what is the energy around fossil fuel? Power, politically, socially, economically, violence, right?
Completely.
So every time we choose to use this type of energy, we add more of that consciousness in the world. Solar is great. Only thing is, challenges when you bind it again, you use a solar cell. Almost all of it's made in China by slave labor with Muslims. Well, I'm going to drive a Tesla. I'm going to drive a electric car. Well, that's really great, but it takes, for most of the cars, over 100,000 miles to drive before you made up the energy just to make the battery.
Right.
And the batteries are forever toxic. Duh. We have not made that shift yet fully. We're just in the middle of it. So in the first tier, the only way we eat high in the food chain, the animals are tortured. The biggest source of pollution in the world is animal production for food, more than having zero pollution in every other area. Because we're taking energy, we're producing violence for the animals in mass, okay? And not make it wrong, it's just what it is. Then we don't need much protein. We're protein overdicted. Eating more protein makes more, we need amino acids there, okay? And where do we get food? From the sun. And the further it is from the sun, the more it takes energy to liberate it. The same way in every other area. Disease is the binding of energy again, where the body in a low form, and it adapts the structure to how much energy it has, and creation's codes that makes the perfection is modified by a different app because we don't have enough energy. So we have pathology, a path of logic. We don't have enough energy for the perfection of organization. So the disease is a perfect organization with what we have. And giving us the ability to downsize, the same thing as to break down in other areas. So let me go through this. So in this first one, the only way you liberate energy, or find energy, information about yourself and life that's been bound up, because you downsize, you can't see what's real, because to see what's real, you have instability and you chose stability or delusion of it.
Right.
The only way it does is force of violence, which is what we're seeing now.
Yeah.
And when you look at it and say, well, it's because of black people, green people, white people, I'm not saying anybody wrong for anybody. When you start saying it's because of this, you're already out of the game. It's
Right.
because we have not chosen more dignity of its creation, forces of creation, dignity in life. It's a different, and dignity is part of faith. It's part of the experience of the force of creation. It's natural. You don't teach someone to love. You can't do it. You can't teach them to be empathetic. Life will teach it to you by having enough pain or hunger. I choose hunger rather than pain.
Exactly. If we aren't humble, then life will humble us.
That's right.
Right.
Now, and the way it humbles us is how we think it's the cause of our problems rather than our open.
And if we build that story of the because, that means we are in the excuse mindset, which is the lowest level energy, and we'll be in that cycle.
And we
feel
then
stuck.
we build on what's there, and we fight that field. We're part of it also.
Right.
So now, so what you're hearing is who is going to have control of right now? Information is the gold.
Right.
And we are information overloaded because we need energy to organize information into wisdom. And without wisdom, we can't take conscious action. We need that.
And we need trust of that data to have it be wisdom. Otherwise, we doubt it.
And we only have trust when we experience the force of creation. And that's what all of my aspects.
Love it. I love it. That's your work in the world.
So now, in this first tier, what's happening is each group is saying, this is the way I have it. There's a fight for who is now going to be on the top and who's going to be below. It's still the first tier. In order to have greatness in the first tier, and I experienced it, you experienced it, many people here experienced it. What happens is to have greatness, you have to have a backstory of massive pain, which built up and somehow you broke through it. You had so much force in life, emotionally, physically, put into culturally, binding it there. So it built up until it finally would explode. And then you could get to greatness. I claimed a dozen years ago, so it's been enough of that wounded to get the energy information we need. We don't have to bust up and unlearn things, have to learn new things. We can instantly know. Because there's enough information in the mind, we just know without having to be taught. You know, people like to learn, but they don't really want to be taught. The next tier, which is here, which is what your show is, and your broadcast, and people listening is on the cusp of that. And that is another energy. It is the immaterial energy. It is the unbound source of energy. It's a part of the 0-point field that just is, it instantly creates. When you bring a source of energy to any living system or a person observing the system, consistent with its nature, and that's the thing, you need to have dignity to acknowledge the nature without trying to change it or transform or understand it.
Oh boy, you just said a lot there. Without trying to change it or understand it. Oh my God, that's a human cycle of trying to understand things.
Change understanding it, as long as you try to change your understanding, you're not being with it, nothing changes until
you bind it. Once you try to change it, understand it, you're binding it again.
But when you observe it, it will start changing because the forces in this next tier create that change.
So it's witnessing. Witnessing it.
That's it. But not just with the mind. You are it. So now what happens is the next tier, what is primary is the immaterial world. Everything of the physical world is made from invisible forces, and you start acknowledging those forces being primary. Everything is there. It's a 0-point field of unlimited information is available for us, unlimited energy. What actually gives us the access to that field is conscious awareness. What is my energy nature? What is my energy high and low, and recognize every situation in life, every failure, every success, everything you consider to be reality is an expression of how much available energy you have. And then you play the app for that. You know, people they They think they're going to couples only adult resort, all inclusive paradise resort. And they call up to get the appointment. There's a problem with the website. You call up, it says City Morgue. You call again, City Morgue. Why is it when I'm looking to have this all expense paid vacation in a paradise, do I get City Morgue? Because you freaking dialed the City Morgue. The type of your use of energy information is what determines your reality.
Yeah.
It's not for no other reason. That's what you dialed up. This is not about positive thinking. You're saying, oh, it's going to be great when it's not great. Things suck. You say, that's okay. It'll be better. That's really nice. But until you experience the energetics of how you created that experience, not the circumstance, we don't create our reality. We create our experience of the reality. And collectively, we shift the reality. By how much.
So collectively right now as humanity, we're creating some pretty crap realities.
Oh yeah. Well, that's because the first tier, the sheriff, or the way it ran itself there, was a game only a few could win. It was developed that way.
Yeah.
Okay. And that dragon is dead, but its tail is whipping around viciously. Because all it knows is how to try to get more power, more energy, more. That's all it knows. That's what it thinks success is. And they think that we all must compete for the same pie. Whoever has the most pieces win. That's been the model. And that's what's shown in the world. Who's right? Political, Democrat, Republican, black people, white people, Asian people. What about this people? What about men? What about women? It's all the same energy.
Right.
But it's being liberated. It's being broken open. What do you do with it? There's energy being broken, a nuclear bomb of energy is released now while people are trying to get back to where they were before, which is the death of humanity.
Yeah, we don't want to go backwards. I mean, there is no going backwards.
So now, in the next tier, what is money? Well, why do you want money in the first place, ultimately? Why do you think people want money? What do you think people want?
To buy food and transact services.
Why?
Because we were told that we need to eat food. And to pay our mortgage, to have a roof over our heads, right?
That's the lowest level.
Right.
Okay, once someone has a roof over their head and pays all the bills there, why else do they want more?
To experience more. I hear a lot of people saying they want to go travel, right? For experiences.
Okay. In the next tier, which is here now, we haven't matured enough. We haven't reached critical mass of people being and transmitting and living consciously with this, where every thought I think, every emotion I feel, everything I buy, everything I eat, everything I consume or generate back is a conscious choice of its impact in the world. Beautiful. Why would anyone think a thought they don't want more people think? There's no separate you. Every time you think something or do something, you're adding a niche in that field like a record so others experience it too, whatever it is. So now, a reason why people want money is to be able to change their experience of life or advance it, or to have an experience that somehow brings them closer to what is real and joyful and participatory.
Yeah, fulfillment.
So why don't you take a look at that instead of binding? So, you see companies like you Airbnb, and you have your Uber, Netflix and stuff, and you have all these companies that give people opportunities. Most of them don't make money initially because they're back to distributing it. But how is it possible some of the biggest, most popular companies are losing billions all the time? Because they'll be bought up by somebody else, but now the value they add to others is the real currency. And people will invest in that, no matter how much they have.
And people are hungry for that. They're hungry for that new level of consciousness and awareness.
So, yes. So that's the next tier. Now, next tier, 3 things will help guide you. AAA, become aware of the energetic as it is, not the situation. I'll talk about it in a moment. To acknowledge it as an energetic. When I hold my neck like that, my body goes like that in a text. I I'm trying to manage my circumstance and I don't feel love. When I bring my neck back like that, shoulders like that, I feel love, and I can't do anything painful. So I realize that my position is doing this. So for example, people right now, put your neck down like this. If you're driving, you gotta wait, okay? Bring your shoulders in like this. And now while like that, think of something that gets you really upset or makes you feel really sad.
Bad traffic, people cutting me off.
Okay. Raise your hand, everyone, when you got it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Now, in that position, focus on things you're grateful for.
It's hard to do.
Okay. Bring your neck back, bring your shoulders back like that.
Uh-huh.
Focus on the same things that piss you off.
I can't do that.
Exactly.
They're not pissing me off, but I'm like this.
It's an example.
Yeah.
By changing your strategy structurally, perceptually, in all different ways on how you use energy, knows every time I'm upset, my body does this. Every time I'm upset, I hold my hands this way. I go like this. Every time it's joyful, I'm like this. Start new strategies. What I've developed for people, having monitored when people get to peak states where they have great coherence in the nervous system, after conversing things, reading forms of over 100,000 people with different events, different things, I got to realize there are certain patterns of how we use energy effectively or not, when change instantly happens in a second. And change and happens, greatness happens in a second. Well, it took 30 years to make that change. No, it took about 6 seconds. It took 30 years for me finally to use a more effective strategy. And sometimes life had to beat the crap out of you, so you use a different strategy. You'll realize, my God, I don't know, God, please help me. That's the beginning.
And some of us are a little daft. It takes a longer time. So, which is right. You have put together a 5-day challenge for us, and it's a way for us to examine and understand exactly what you're telling us today. And even that first level of our posture and how it's going to affect our mentality and our emotional setting. So the 5-day challenge, tell us about that. And it's going to be in a link here in our show notes. It's going to be on the email that we send out. And, I want you to understand how we're going to do this together, because Donnie's given us a great gift. So the 5-day challenge, help us unpack that, Donnie. What are you going to take us through?
Well, I have an area called Alchemy.
Alchemy, yes.
It's the energy of how everything's created. It's a force of creation and action. And there are different strategies people have. The key is by knowing your energetic nature, and that every thought, every emotion, every manifestation or whack has a certain amount of energy involved. So it's understanding your nature. So the posture immediately that you're holding is in association with thoughts that can biochemistry and physiology. Take your hands for people for a second and put them like this. Hold them in your chest.
Put your hands over your heart. Mm-hmm.
And right now, what's life about? Tina, what's life about? Observe
connection.
That's available.
Connection and love.
Okay.
Caring.
Now she said that with a flatness. She said a script of what you think she's supposed to say. Okay? Put your hands up there.
Uh-huh.
What's life about?
Absolute love.
Okay. The first thing you did, you would say either what you think you do to feel like you're enough, or you'll focus on the pain or difficulty in life. Here, it's not a concept, it's reality.
It's reality. It's available. Like you were saying earlier, it feels available here.
It's bound up.
Tappable. This is like an energy with my arms open that is you can utilize. It's actually flowing.
That second tier,
it wasn't.
First tier, you have to get ripped up. Okay, another thing. Right now, put your hands here. And just talk about a particular challenge you have in any aspect of life, just for a moment.
That's hard to do. Pain in the ass. That's happening right now. The growth of the company, Bonfire, into other cities.
Okay.
Yeah.
Put your arms up. Tell me about the challenge of business.
There is no challenge.
That's exactly it. Okay. You're projecting a different life.
It's all available. You just need to take action.
That's it. So now you're putting a beacon in the universe. You're allowing force of creation to happen here. You can't. Because
true. It felt innate.
And for me, it's the opposite. I go like this. Watch me. I'm like this. Just do with energy, right?
Ah.
You feel a building, because
Mhm.
that's what happens when I go like this.
It's subtle.
Look at my eyes. Look what happens to my face. The light drops as compared to here.
Mm.
So you will learn.
Each person has their own signature.
You'll get to understand how you use energy. When you have a painful situations, are you always focused on the past or are you focused on the future?
So we're going to have a signature. We'll have a signature, and you're going to take us through this in this 5-day challenge.
Each day, different strategies to become aware,
Yes.
acknowledge the energetics, and accept that when I call this phone number, that's all I'm going to get. That's the app you're playing. This is not about theory. It's not about understanding. It's about experience. When I do A, I get B. When I do B, I get this. That's it. When you get this is all about experience. I will tell you what every spiritual tradition has promised.
Yes.
What all the transformational tools have promised, always how many people make it sustainable. Let's take a look at this.
Mm-hmm.
It's now a different time. Not get it wrong. You do not have to change anything in your life to suddenly experience differently. You don't have to change anything in your life to be able to change your whole life, turn it around. You do stop trying to change it. Instead, recognize the energetic, turn the power on. But all these dark emotional experiences I have holding me back, put the freaking light on, it's no longer dark. They're dark because the light's there. Doesn't mean avoid it. But realize when it's there, it's because there's no light. We need to up the power of the soul power we're born with.
I love it. And we need to learn.
That's what I teach people to do in every one of the disciplines in every way.
I love it. And thank you for doing this. Thank you for being this instrument in our life to help us wake up and have these strategies. And so if you are as enthralled as I am about Donny Epstein and you want to learn more, go to epienergetics.com. I want you to understand all of his programs. They're amazing. They're powerful. They're transformative. And they are what you're seeking right now. And then also look for the links on the emails that go out from Bonfire Coaching and the Light Your Life podcast. There are gifts there for you. In this 5-day challenge, I'm going to be in it. You're going to join me in it. And we're going to take this journey together so that we can experience what Donny is only availing to us right now. He's done the research. He's helped the thousands, hundreds of thousands of people. We want to be part of that. We want to be the part of the change of human consciousness because the time is now. Everything that's against us, Donny, you said it, it's available energy to create that, to allow that instability to break us wide open. And that's what humanity is ready for. I'm game. I'm in. I'm dedicated. Thank you so much for being our guest here today on Light Your Life. Always a pleasure. And can't wait to be in the 5-day challenge with you and be part of the consciousness of humanity, super consciousness of humanity that's taking us beyond humanity, because I know there's so much more. Thank you, Donny.